That was my best clap so far.
Amen.
I'm most happy about that one.
Good. I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't notice it.
He's lying.
I was thinking about my opening statement.
No, he's lying. There's no way you didn't. That was thunderous.
Fresh off a Bayou Jam win, it is time for week 1 edition of the football podcast that you've all been waiting for.
Yeah. It is a football podcast. Everybody knows that.
But I am glad that you clapped,
Yeah,
apparently.
It was good.
Okay.
Oh, was it good?
I had to go back
It was
and
the
watch
most clapping I've been able to do in the last week because
You been
Texas predictably lost, and I did not get to clap.
Oh, man.
There were no moments to clap for.
You know, here's the thing about that. And, I know we are a football podcast, and, I know that Texas lost.
Yeah.
And I know that that's difficult. But at least Arch Manning played so well that there is a hope for a future.
So, I don't want to be overly critical. First off, and a lot of people don't realize this about me, they've just not spent enough time around me to know that I truly am capable of functioning from a completely unbiased position.
Yeah.
A lot of people can't do it. You got a dog in the race, you're always going to lie to yourself about that dog.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people are like, hey, man, you all right? Texas lost. I just said, I picked Texas to lose. That I chose, when people ask me, hey, who's going to win? I said, Texas will lose this game, for sure. I just know. I know Texas. I know how they play. I know how they do at the beginning of the season normally. Ohio State's a really good team coming off a national championship. They lost a lot of their players, but it's still a high-caliber program. Matt Patricia's a defensive coordinator. They've just got the right pieces in place for that to have not went well. And secondarily, I've never been pro Arch Manning. I have always hoped for Arch Manning, but I have never. I watched him in high school. He just wasn't impressive to me. And so when Texas signed him, everybody was freaking out, and I was just like, did you watch him in high school? Like, I don't know what we really got other than some financial backing. And now he has changed significantly in his appearance and stature and things like that. But he hasn't went out there and torn the world up yet. And also, that's a tough first test against a Matt Patricia defense, which we know Ohio State has high-caliber players. And Matt Patricia was the defensive coordinator for my favorite football team dynasty in history. And so
Detroit Lions. Oh, sorry. I got it wrong.
nobody cares about the
Dang,
Lions.
I said it wrong.
No. But so now it met my expectation, and so I wasn't surprised. I'm not disappointed. So far the season has played out as expected.
Yeah.
And so, we'll see how we move forward from here. We'll see whether or not he's a real quarterback. If he make adjustments.
I was disappointed just because I lost $10 on Texas.
Yeah. You should have asked somebody.
Well, the only reason why I went for them is because supposedly, they're in the SEC, I guess, is kind of. But so that's the reason. So I was disappointed.
So you're pulling for Alabama too?
I did bet for Alabama too. I lost both of those games. I bet for Texas and Alabama. Yeah, if it's anywhere close, I'm going to go SEC.
Yeah.
It just is what it is.
That was wild, the Florida State-Alabama game.
Yeah.
They got embarrassed.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since Alabama's been embarrassed.
Yeah.
They've lost some. They haven't really been embarrassed. That was embarrassing.
Well, and I think that was the whole deal, with the Arch Manning deal is he didn't look good and Texas lose. He looked bad and Texas lost. And they didn't lose by just a little, but they lost. And so I think that was the whole issue there. Kind of the same way with Alabama. The hope for the future doesn't look so bright.
Yeah.
It's not like it was real close.
Well, that wasn't extremely discouraging. It was just one touchdown in the Texas-Ohio State game. The problem was, like you said, the offense never got off the ground.
Right.
And so on the one hand, you look at that and you can be very, very concerned, and rightfully so, for the record. And on the other hand, he played so bad that if he can even shift to mediocre, you think that maybe they can make a run because of how strong their defense played. And their defense played an excellent game. Yeah. And so the Texas defense is going to be stout. If we can get the offense to middle of the pack, we should be fine, which is a lot of what I am kind of thinking for LSU this year. Not that their offense doesn't have elite caliber. They're much more promising than Texas is at this point. But this is the first time I've seen an LSU defense look stout in some years.
Yeah.
They looked.
Yeah, that's the reason why you like LSU right now. Is because the defense looks like the defense.
Dude, they look like a true LSU. Like, this is what LSU is known for, a DBU type situation.
Right. So the offense is going to be prolific or a notch below. And you know that that's coming. But
I don't.
Think about all the years that the defense, if it had just been average,
yes,
it would have been so good. Well,
with Jaden Daniels,
right? Yeah. And so, but before Jaden Daniels and Joe Burrow and all that, we had elite defense, and then we had people you never heard of on offense. You know,
run it up the middle again, see what happens.
We've never seen it. We've seen it go in waves like this. No, I really think that Garrett Nussbaum is the best version of himself.
So he's on steroids, you think?
Right now, yeah. I think that I think that the Joe Sloan's not some over, it's not some micromanager.
Is that the offensive coordinator?
Yeah. And, he's really more of a quarterback coach. And now he's offensive coordinator of a big school and everything. And I think he's given Garrett Nussbaum a lot of leadway there. And so I think that we're able to see the best version of himself right now. But anyhow, it's football season. I love it. Go Dragons. We got a home game against Gina. It's going to be a very tough game. We've lost to Gina the last 2 years in a row, I think, by a combined 4 points or something like that.
Oh.
It's either 4 or
That's
6.
Tough.
Yeah. It's difficult. This time they come to us. Both of those games were on the way. The way it worked out. So they come to us Friday night. So I'm looking excited at that. We started a new youth program at our church called 412 4 weeks ago, and almost the whole football team comes to youth. And so getting to see those boys grow on the football field, but also getting to see them to grow in the Lord is a pretty cool thing. Yeah. And so we're getting to see both sides of that. Hey, and I'm here for it, to get to see young people grow physically, get to see them grow mentally in the classroom, and to get to see them grow spiritually. To me, man, I love all aspects of it. Some people would say that, well, this was so much more important than this side. I understand that, but at the same time, we're getting to see all three, and getting to see all three is really cool. I know that's one of the reasons why you enjoy coaching and stuff is because you get to see them on a more intimate, deal other than just baseball and stuff.
Sure. When's the last time Mangum won a football state championship?
Man, I think it's been a long time. Yeah.
They
always get to the finals and don't make it.
That's tough. Well, man, this could be a cool year. I think that the impact that those boys as a team being in church together will have is going to be more drastic on the field than they realize too. And so that could be a really cool situation to kind of tie into the story. I'll make a 30 for 30 for y'all if y'all win it.
There you go.
I'll be happily do that. I've been looking for a reason to make a 30 for 30. That somebody's got to be worthy.
There you go.
So that could be really cool.
I will say this: one thing Mangum has going for them is not only do we have the best chain crew there is, but they are very seasoned. They only had to replace one, and he was the weak link in the chain crew.
Yeah.
Man, I didn't even work on that, and that was so good.
Yeah.
But they replaced one. They replaced him with a better man.
Yeah.
And so really, we got the best chain crew there is.
I have heard the chain crew got better.
Yeah.
By a lot is what I heard.
Well, so, it is what it is.
Well,
it was only the preseason. We'll see.
Sure.
Tonight's when it counts.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Other than that, man, what's been going on with you?
Man, life is good. It's all about Jesus and football.
Yep.
That's really what it's about.
We have been making a push for Operation Family Freedom. We're trying to grow. And there's always a reason. Growth is always good, but for as many families as people see freed, there are more families that are not free.
Yeah.
We're talking about hundreds of thousands. I was trying to think of, how specific I wanted to get, but the reality is across Pakistan there are hundreds of thousands of Christian slaves, hundreds of thousands. And so I'm constantly getting information on these families, and so for everyone that you see let out, I'm also having to say we can't to a lot of families. And nobody's pushing or trying to shove or begging for money or anything like that. It's just I'm being presented with a lot more opportunities than we can fulfill. And so I kind of have set an audacious goal of getting 1,000 monthly sponsors for Operation Family Freedom. Now these are small sponsorships we're looking for, just like $20 a month, which is it's not much. But I think that so many times when you're trying to do something big, you think big money is always got to be. I'm more of a chip away at everything kind of guy. If we can just chip away at it, you'd be surprised the impact that it can have. So if I can have 1,000 guys chipping as opposed to 5 guys swinging a sledgehammer, I'll take the 1,000 guys. And that's more ownership. That's more more community impact. There's a lot of things. And so we are 85 deep.
Come on.
Into 1,000.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, we are 85 deep into 1,000 monthly sponsors at $20 a pop, and so we are just continuing to drive into that. Man, we have so many generous people in our community that donate and give all the time. We're so thankful for y'all. This doesn't mean that you have to become a monthly sponsor because you've given before. That's not the expectation. But you absolutely can, and we're looking for churches, businesses, or individuals. That's the reason we're not asking for $1,000. I realize the gravity of that much money. That's a lot of money to me. It's not a lot of money to somebody. It's a lot of money to me. And so $20 is something I can much more easily let go of. And just to be a part, if you want to be a part of something bigger than yourself, if you feel like the Lord is calling you to help the enslaved Christians overseas, man, we just want to encourage you to do that. Let you know we got opportunities for you, and man, this is going to be something God wants to. He won't let me leave it alone. There's a part of me. I've got so much going on in life. I have so many irons in the fire moving around. And God will not let me leave this alone. He's telling me I've got to keep pushing. I can't let it just sit there, because we do have some things coming through that are great. And it would be very easy to just be satisfied with that and say, hey, man, we're doing a good thing. We're part of a good thing. Our community's helping us. And God's like, no. We're going to lean into this. And so I'm taking advantage of, an opportunity the Lord has given us just to have a small platform and just push that out there. If anybody else wants to join in monthly sponsorship at $20 a month, you're welcome to sponsor more than that if you feel led to, but that's not what we're asking.
Right.
We're just asking for $20 a month sponsorship.
So if somebody wants to do that, how do they get hooked up with y'all?
The best thing they could do is reach out to me personally, and because we got a lot of different avenues you can do that through. And it's different for different people. Everybody's with all of the technology today, everybody's money is set up in different places, different ways, and there's some things that are just easier. And so if somebody would, you could reach out to me on Facebook if that's the easiest way to access me for you. But also you can just shoot me a text message. Everybody knows my number. It gets flashed on screens all over the country. It's 535-6377. I'm not hard to get a hold of, and there's people. I get calls and texts from random numbers every day, all day. And so it's one of those things that this purpose is greater than my peace. And I'm always going to have peace because of my relationship with the Lord, but I'm not afraid to be bothered. You're never bothering me if you're trying to help grow the kingdom. And so if the Lord is leading you there, man, reach in, be a part of that with us. And outside of that, man, it's just been the typical run and gun with the family, and we're loving it. It's a busy life, but it's a life I signed up for, and I love living it, man.
I love it. Hey, and just let me put my stamp on Operation Family Freedom. Hey, man, we love what God's doing through them. So if that's something that God has put on your heart, or if it's something that you need to pray about to see if God put it on your heart, hey, helping God's people is always part of His plan. This is a way to do it where there's no administration costs. There's no, wondering if my money gets there or not. 100% of your money gets there. It goes specifically just to free these families. So all the other stuff, there is a lot of, other things that happen, but all that's paid for. All your money does is go help free these families. So look, put our stamp of approval on there, Operation Family Freedom, contact Andrew Skull, and make it happen.
That's right.
Amen.
That's right. Get to know you segment this week.
Okay.
I got a question for you, and it's something I don't know if we've talked much about over the years. Maybe you had a couple of passing conversations that just kind of came up organically. But I'm curious if you've had any interesting or surprising celebrity interactions in your life.
Yeah, this is funny because I just had this conversation. It's funny for two reasons. Number one, I just had this conversation yesterday. Or day before yesterday with somebody.
Incredible timing.
Yeah, I told a story from 12 years ago. No, told a story from 14 years ago. Man, I can't believe it's been that long. And I told it 2 days ago.
63, 64.
Yeah, I know. And then the other thing is this is a football podcast.
That's true.
So it goes hand in hand. So yeah, I've had several celebrity interactions, seeing how I am a celebrity. So those things happen more for other people meeting me. But anyhow, it is what it is. So in 2011, okay, I think it is, and I didn't even put this together, but I think LSU and Oregon played in the AT&T football stadium for the first time. It's like right after, Jerry's World opened up and everything. And Jeff Boughton and I went to AT&T Stadium and watched LSU demolish Oregon in the opening day game, kind of like LSU beating Clemson. But anyhow, so we went and watched that game. And then later in the year, it started becoming very apparent that we had a good chance to go to the national championship game. And that was the year that LSU and Alabama went in the field goal fest, and it was like 9-6 or whatever it was, and one of the greatest games of the century and that kind of stuff. And then we get ready, and so we're fixing to go to the national championship, and we could just tell. So Jeff Boughton had a great year for him in that year and stuff, and he said, "Look, I'll buy us tickets to the national championship game if you'll get us a place to stay." And I'm like, man, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, Well, there was this company, but he wanted me to find the tickets. Well, instead of just finding tickets, I found the company that also did like a VIP tailgating ahead of time.
Okay.
And everything to where it was all-inclusive and stuff. So instead of getting there for a 7 o'clock game, you got there at like 4 or 5 o'clock and got to eat and hang out. Instead of outside, you're in one of the big suites because it was in the Superdome. So you're in a big suite in the Superdome and stuff. And I got Jeff to pay for it because he said he was buying the tickets, and it was part of the tickets. And then I bought us somewhere to stay, and we stayed for like 3 days. So, I mean, we made a deal out of it, right? And so anyhow, we're in the big VIP suite before the game, for the, it's not the suites where you see the football field. It's just private rooms right there. And they got all the buffets and all the stuff going on and all the food. And then there's Roman Harper, who used to play for Alabama, that was the strong safety for the Saints. And he was there because Alabama was there, and Matt Malk was there, and LSU's quarterback, the one made number 18 famous and stuff. And there was a few older football players and stuff, and they're all part of this VIP deal because you got to hang out with some people and stuff. Well, in a little while, Jeff's over there, and he's visiting with a black man, and they're talking football and talking stuff, and they're sitting over to the side, and in a little while I go over there and introduce myself and everything, and talk to them for a little while, and Jeff and them talk for about 30 minutes, and so they get through talking, and I talked part of the time, but the rest of the time I was hanging out with people and doing different stuff, and the guy leaves, and Jeff goes, "Man, that was a nice guy right there," and everything. I'd like to get to spend some more time with him, And I said, "Would you get a picture with him?" And Jeff's like, not best friends or nothing. We just had a conversation for 30 minutes, you know. And I said, oh, really? And I said, Jeff, you don't know who that was? And he said, no, and it was Bernie Mac.
Oh,
And
my
so,
God. Oh, my God.
So Jeff Boughton and Bernie Mac
No way.
talking football for 30 minutes, and there is no physical evidence of it. So I thought that was
That is
pretty
hilarious.
awesome. So I just told that story.
And talk about two unlikely characters
Right,
to ever
right.
have a conversation.
Well, I told that story
That is
to our
hysterical.
friend Chris Pruitt this week because him and Jeff, you know, been best friends forever and everything. And Jeff's trying to get better in a certain aspect of life. And one of the aspects of life he's trying to get better in is being more intentional with learning people's names.
Yeah.
And being able to recognize people and really put value in people's names and stuff, because he values people, but sometimes you can't tell it because he doesn't remember their name and stuff.
Yep.
So he's really trying to get better at this, and he's encouraging other people to get better, you know, because when we get better at something, we want other people to get better at it.
Mm-hmm.
That's just natural. But anyhow, so I told the story on him where he didn't have a clue who Bernie Mac was. So
And Bernie Mac probably would have found it refreshing that a guy had no idea who he was and was able to sit and have a conversation with him.
yeah,
you know?
just liked him because he
Yeah.
had a great, sense of humor.
Yeah, and he does.
It's kind of
Yeah.
funny, you know.
Has Jeff ever sat and watched an episode of the Bernie Mac show since?
I don't know.
He needs to.
Yeah,
We need to force him to, just
Yeah.
so he can get to, you know.
Yeah, I don't know if if he
see
has
his
or
old
not.
buddy again.
But I thought that was pretty funny.
That's hysterical.
Yeah.
Man, I love that.
So,
I love that so much.
Top that.
Can't. No, that is that is top tier as far as interactions
stuff.
go. I'm a big supporter of a channel, a program. It's got a lot of different ways it can be referenced, but it's called the Warrior Poet Society. The Warrior Poet Society is it's led by an Army Ranger, former Army Ranger, who is a pastor now. And his whole deal, he's got two kind of main deals. The first thing is the Warrior Poet Society, which is his original, kind of baby that he created, which is basically focusing on manhood and how you need to be both warrior and poet. And that men tend to lean too far one way or the other, and in the true balance of manhood in your life is like being violent when you need to be violent, but being gentle when you need to be gentle, and learning how to and so he's just got a lot of great stuff on there, a whole lot about biblical masculinity and how those things work out. And then he's got all these things on shooting guns and homesteading, and so he's a really cool guy, a lot of good Christian teaching, and then he's got lions and lambs, which is another thing that he's real big into, which has kind of a similar vein. But anyways, I'm a big fan of these guys. They do all kinds of videos, and on their channel there's a guy who specializes in hand-to-hand combat. Like he was an undercover narcotics officer, the most famous one in the country for, a long time, years and years and years and years. And he's got like a well-known nickname within the community and stuff like that. Like he was the guy, and so he's like on the ground, in the car, in the middle of all of these deals and stuff like that, and so he's constantly finding himself in extremely dangerous situations. And so like he's got all these stories, and he's like, hey, if you get attacked while you're buckled into a car, here, you know what I mean, because it's happened to him.
Right,
He's
right.
had to
He's
survive
dealt with
it, and so the different things like that. And so I find stuff like that interesting, so. I'm walking through the airport on my way back from Pakistan, oddly enough. And so this was a couple of years ago, and I'm walking through the airport, and just kind of out the corner of my eye, I see a face that I recognize. You know how it is. Like, you're not looking for anybody, but you just kind of, like, something just struck. And I turn and look, and it's him. And at the time, I had 2 Warrior Poet shirts, and I was wearing one.
Come on.
And it's just coincidence. I only have one now, but I caught him out the corner of my eye, and I looked at him, and I went, and just like reflexively, I went, Craig, and he looked up at me, and he pointed. He goes, I know you. I was like, you don't. You don't know me. And I just, told him hello and moved on. I'm not somebody who likes to take a bunch of people's time. So I just said, hey, man, I'm Andrew. It's nice to meet you. Really enjoy the stuff y'all put out. And I left. I didn't, people get mobbed all the time. And I'm sure they don't appreciate being held up constantly. So I don't want to be, that's never the impression I want to leave. But it was cool that, there's somebody who, that guy was probably on my television screen for 4 hours a week.
Yeah.
Just running in the background, and then I just bumped into him at an airport and connected flight. Most of their stuff is based out of Atlanta, and so we were in a connection in Georgia when we ran into him, and so it was neat just to kind of see him in his element. And when it sounds weird when you say in his element, but that's part of situational awareness at all times is his element. And so just to see how he interacts when he's not with friends, he's by himself, how does he position himself? I took a lot away from a brief interaction just because of how he had maneuvered himself within the airport around a bunch of people he doesn't know. And it was really neat, man.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So, the big question of the day.
Okay.
And
hey, before we get to that real quick, I do want to say this because I never remember, but I remember today. Last week's episode, we did an episode on just what God had been showing us lately, or something, and I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah, just being able to share our heart, share what God's showing us right now, and we might want to do that ever so often. But I thought that was really cool. We hadn't really talked about that since, but I just thought because we talk about our opinions of stuff and everything a lot, but last week we were able just to talk about what God was showing us that week or that day, and I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, revelation is something that should be happening pretty often.
Amen.
And so if you're digging into the Word, God should be showing you new things.
All right, today.
So today, big question. I feel certain there's going to be some unhappy parties. And that's... I think we say that a lot of episodes, and people think that we just say it just to say it, but the reality is they don't understand what we deal with on the other side of these conversations.
Right.
Yeah, we have to deal with a lot. But it doesn't stop us. It doesn't stop us from saying what's honest. And we're not being honest for the sake of being brutal. We're being honest for the sake of people's healing. And so the question for the day is, are we overdiagnosed as a society?
Yeah, for sure. Overdiagnosed and overlabeled.
Over-medicated?
For sure. Yeah, I would say all those things. Yeah, overdiagnosed, overlabeled, overmedicated, for sure.
Why? How does that happen? How did it happen? It wasn't always this way, right?
No, it wasn't always this way, but as we learn more in the medical community, then we want to put to use what we're learning. And, it's the same way I said about Jeff. Jeff's, working on something within his life, but instead of just being good enough to work on it within his life, he wants other people to work on it too. I'm not saying that's good, bad, or ugly. I'm just saying that's just human nature. I'm working in this area, you should too. Right. Well, so as we learn more as a medical profession, as we learn more as a society, then we want to put to use what we're learning. And so we want to have people fit into those categories. The other issue is that if we deal with it, then we think that other people must be dealing with it too. And then, so then we're trying to put it on other people. And then you got this whole FOMO deal where people are just like, well, everybody else has got a diagnosis. I need to have one too, right? In fact, I sat with a class yesterday and a guy told his diagnosis, and before he could ever even tell his diagnosis, 2 other guys told all theirs too. Not saying good about ugly. I'm just saying it happens. And so are we overdiagnosed? For sure. Over-medicated? For sure. Are we over-labeled? For sure. I remember
trying to even think if I want to say this or not. I remember my oldest child having a substitute teacher that told her she tried to diagnose my youngest child to my oldest child.
Interesting.
So so my oldest child's just minding her own business in school, and she's in high school or whatever, and the substitute teacher had also substituted for my youngest daughter, and she told my oldest daughter that my youngest daughter should be diagnosed a certain way. And my oldest daughter probably told her something that wasn't real nice. Probably something that could get her in trouble. But it would not have got her in trouble with us, because we don't live like that.
Yeah.
It's not that we're in some imaginary world or anything like that, but we're not trying to just go grab things out of the air and attach them to us.
That's right.
That we're definitely not trying to do that. In fact, we rebuke all those things. So, yeah, we see it a lot at Fresh Start. We see it a lot in life. We see it, just all over the internet and in general. It's like, you said, how did we get here? We got here a lot of different ways. Like I said, as the science world gets better, as we find out more things, they try to attach it. And then you got, the whole social media thing and everything. But it seems like that when somebody attaches a diagnosis or a label to themselves, it's almost like they get some satisfaction or some clarity, like, well, we finally figured out what's wrong with me. We finally figured it out. Well, what's wrong with you is you need a better relationship with Jesus 99% of the time.
I've actually got a really clear view of that
Amen.
particular thing.
And so we see that, and then all of a sudden they own it.
Mm.
And it not becomes a part of them, it becomes them.
Mm.
No different than when you were growing up and baseball didn't become a part of you, it became you.
That's right.
And then when baseball's not there anymore, you have no identity.
That's right.
Well, that's the same issue that we run into with these diagnoses and stuff, is it doesn't become a part of you, it becomes you. And then you have no other identity.
That's right.
And that's where it gets real serious.
That's right. So I don't want to say I'm surprised, like I'm disappointed, but you sound like, when you talk about that it is to some degree well-intentioned ignorance.
Yes.
I'm far more cynical as it pertains to that. I believe that it's about control. I believe that it's about control, and I believe that it is financially driven. I believe that the big pharma is a financial giant that we will never be rid of apart from armed rebellion. And I'm not suggesting it. I'm just saying that's the only way you could kill a machine that size. And I'm one of these people who believes that there are more efficient ways to treat a lot of things that don't provide the same financial gain, and that that information is being willfully withheld. So the more diagnosed people are, the more medicated people are, the more money there is in big pharma and those things, and I believe that is a massive portion of it. In addition to that, if people have to be fixed by medication, there is no leaning to the Lord for healing. And so if we can fix people, they don't have to go to God. So long as we can fix them, they don't need the Lord, right? And so that's the second thing that it does. It creates a separation between people and the Lord, not because people are turning away from the Lord, but because they're not having to rely on the Lord. They feel like they don't have to rely on the Lord. Now, the reality is that medicine doesn't typically fix them. It just distracts them.
That's right.
Distracts them. And so are we going to call that success? Yeah, I don't think that it's success.
Right.
You know, I would say that it's a failure. I think that it's a hindrance. I think that we're hurting people. Now here's the last part there that is really, and you kind of leaned into it a little bit, but this is what I've seen is, if you can diagnose yourself with something, because that's the biggest problem is self-diagnosis. There's a million. You could go online right now and type in, do I have, and there will be a quiz, an online quiz you can take, and it'll tell you at the end of the online quiz. Dude, that is not a diagnosis. That's not a medical diagnosis. But the problem is, if I can label myself with a diagnosis, guess what I don't have to deal with anymore? Accountability.
That's right.
I don't have to answer for anything that I do. It's not me that's doing it. It reminds me of Romans 7, where Paul's like, is it really me that's doing it? No, it's a sin on the inside of me that's doing it. And we see people do the same thing with these self-diagnosis or societal diagnosis, not professional diagnosis. You know, that's a whole nother thing.
Right.
And I'm not condemning all of it all at once. But the self-diagnosis, the society diagnosis that we deal with in Groves, I'm very much condemning of those things. Yeah. I want to make very clear that my stance on societal and self-diagnosis are horrid, and we need to stop. Because you're killing everything around you. You're killing your relationship with the Lord. You're killing your ability to be held accountable, which further kills your relationship with the Lord. It kills your relationship with people. And I don't have to answer for anything because, Clay, I'd love to pay attention to you, but I can't because I have this. And so when I'm not doing well at my job and I need to be terminated, well, you can't terminate me, Clay. It's not my fault. It's not my fault I didn't get those things done. I've got this. It's like, according to who? A quiz on Facebook? According to somebody told you it sounds like you have this and you took ownership of it in your life and now you're letting it run your life, and rather than battling through some things you can battle through because he who lives in you is greater than he who's in the world, instead of battling through those things and overcoming some things and winning some things, you've taken ownership of an illness you don't have.
Yep.
But now it's become you. And this is who you are. And so you operate everything through that. But if you believe that he is on the inside of you, let that overcome you instead and live as an overcomer. Live as more than a conqueror.
Amen.
But that's not what we see.
Well, I agree 100%. And that's the reason why, hey, look, I realize Big Pharma's the enemy. I don't disagree with anything you said there. But it's just hard for me to blame it on the man.
Sure.
When it's this man's fault.
I understand.
And that's where I find the ownership, and that's where, where you're leaning into there and stuff, is I find the ownership in us.
I agree.
Hey, look, we, we're not blaming it on doctors and this and that. Hey, there are a lot of diagnoses out there by professionals, but what we're talking about is people labeling other people, and they don't have the qualifications to do that, and people labeling themselves and diagnosing themselves. I just recently have a really good friend that had some abnormalities on a heart check or some kind of heart test or whatever, and doctor gave her some medicine, and she just decided not to take it. She took it for a couple of days, decided not to take it. But so in one sense, hey, I'm just believing God for my healing and stuff, But then on the other sense, she still believes she had that heart problem.
Yeah.
This whole time.
Yeah.
And so she didn't take the medicine, but yet in her mind, she's got issues there. She goes back a year later, and the test was read wrong, and she never had a heart problem to begin with. But she's been dealing with this in her mind this whole year.
Yeah.
It's so much that we get in our mind. And like I said, it doesn't become a part of us, it becomes us.
Yeah.
We are that diagnosis, and it's so terrible because you think about if the worst thing that you ever did in your entire life, just the worst thing, when you wasn't in the Lord, the worst thing. Well, what about if you had to wear that thing on your chest as a shirt every day? And it just said that one word, the worst thing that you ever did. And that's how you were known by everybody. The problem is people are taking this diagnosis
and they're wearing it on their shirt every day. They're being known by that in the community around. This, they blame everything on it. Just like you said, this is why I'm good at something. This is why I'm bad at something. This is why I'm failing. But I can't get better because of this right here.
Yeah.
You know, I can get a little bit better, but not a lot better because I have limitations because of this diagnosis. But God doesn't say that you have limitations. Hey, He wants to give you life and life more abundantly. And if you ain't figured out what abundantly means, it means more and more and more and more. So much more that it's pouring out to everybody around you. But you can't self-diagnose yourself, cut your ceiling back down, and then be abundantly flowing out to other people. It's not going to happen.
Yep, completely agree. And so we were talking about the difference in self-diagnosis, society diagnosis, and professional diagnosis. Now, I will say this. I'm not against professional diagnosis, but I will say that I do think that those have leaned in a little too quickly to medicating.
Yeah, I think 30 to 40% of them are probably accurate.
Yeah. But, you know, it tends to be the easiest thing is to write a script and see what happens. And a lot of times those things, they're not followed up on super well. Not to mention, placebo is the most effective medicine we have. That this is researched, studied. This is not Andrew's opinion. I know there's a lot of people listening right now who's like, Andrew is an idiot, and that's fine. It doesn't bother me that you think that. I get that. But I'm just telling you, do the research yourself. Placebo is by far the most effective medication that we have. And so when you give someone a pill and tell them that this is going to make them better, a lot of times they'll start to feel better just because they have it, even if it wasn't effective. And so it's hard to do proper follow-up. You know, a medical professional sees a mass number of patients. They can't personally follow up and keep tabs on every situation. All they can do is go off of what you tell them. And so if you tell them, hey, you know what, you gave me this and I feel better, well then, hey, nailed it. Nailed it. And the reality is it might not have been necessary. Right. You may have reacted the same to a sugar pill, just thinking that you had something. I have seen that happen many times in life. It's one of those things that we also have to address is that the way that life and society are geared nowadays and the technology that we're being subjected to constantly. Screen time on the phones is insane. It's insane if you look at your daily screen time. And some is far worse than others, but it's still, even the ones of us who are mostly not on our phones are still on our phones too much.
Yeah, way too much.
So your mind, your brain, and all these things are being rewired by these technologies. Well, here's the problem. That rewiring shares the same symptoms as a lot of these diagnoses. And so it's not necessarily that you have something inherently wrong with you. It's that you've been conditioned by the way that you live to have attention deficits. You're being conditioned to have attention deficits. It's not that there's something wrong with you. It's that since you were 7, you've been flipping through screens and video games and doing these things, and you've always had something to captivate your attention at a mass scale, a mass neurological scale. And when you're without it, you reel because you're just not used to it. And we look at that and we start to diagnose ourselves and say, well, I've got all these things. Like, no, you've just been conditioned since your childhood to have these sensory overloads. And when you're deprived of them, you freak out and you can't focus. Why? Well, it's not because there's something wrong with you. It's because you've got a dependency issue. It's no different than somebody who uses substances for any sort of self-diagnosed means. You can become dependent on those things if you're not careful. Well, it's the same way with the phone. If I always have to have a phone for my attention to be captivated, well, when I put that phone down, I don't know what to do. I'm just looking around like, well, what am I supposed to do with life? And so what do? You subconsciously, without even realize it, you pick that phone back up. I can't tell you how many times I've watched people, and I do it all the time. It's something that's specific that I pay attention to. I'll watch people lock their phone and put it away, and I'll count and see how long before they pick it back up. Yeah. They can't handle it. It's not because they have a diagnosis. No. It's because of the way that they've been conditioned.
Look, and you and I probably spend less time on the phones than most anybody else, and we spend way too much.
Correct.
When I always run into a transition to where if there's something that I'm used to doing and now I'm not having to do it anymore. So if somebody takes on a task for me or whatever,
I know exactly what you mean.
I lose my productivity over the next couple of days. Because until I figure out what I'm going to fill that time with, I'll fill it on my phone or not needed conversations or whatever for a period of time, 1 to 3 days or something, before I realize, hey, I'm not being productive with this time.
Yeah.
And I'm better at it than most people. And so you see all these other people, and it just becomes a way of life. But I do want to say this. You're talking about phone time and, different things like that and stuff, and the diagnosis and how it relates and everything. There was something that I hadn't told you yet that I saw last night, and I want to attribute this to you and you teaching us this. But last night at the youth, we had around 50 kids, and at this time we probably had 40 kids, somewhere around there. And I took some pictures and I looked, but you had one table of kids. This is just, they get there and then they were going to have some game time, or whatever. This isn't very structured. It wasn't done, it was just like, hey, here's some games. It wasn't like a structured game time or whatever. It's like, hey, we're going to play some games before we eat. We had one table that was playing Jenga, and probably half of them had never played Jenga before. They weren't playing it correctly, but they were very intense with how they were doing it. You know, another table was playing Uno, and we had big Uno cards. These are all teenagers, and most of them are high school. And they had these big Uno cards. And every time somebody walked by, it's like, I've never seen Uno cards that big. And then there was this other group of kids, and they were a little younger. They were more like the freshmen and stuff, and they were playing headbands. The game headbands, and they were guessing and stuff. And then you walked in the sanctuary, and there was a group that was just talking, getting to know each other. Didn't really know each other, getting to know each other. And then in this other group, you had some musicians that were getting together, talking about music and talking about songs and different things like that. And then you had a group outside that was playing spike ball for like one round, and then they would go to badminton. It was wild, and they'd go back and forth, and so I was just looking around seeing these different groups, but what you didn't see was all their phones pulled out.
That's right.
Kids can still play. They can still have fun. Even all these kids were teenagers. Most all these kids were high school. In fact, Andrew knows this, probably 50% of them were seniors.
That's right.
And so here they are. They're playing Uno. They're playing head games. They're playing Jenga. They're playing spike ball. They're playing badminton. They're talking about music and Christian music and leading worship. What they're not doing, none of them were on TikTok. None of them were on their phones. None of them were looking at this, and they were having a great time. They're having a great time. We didn't tell them you can't have your phones.
Yep.
They just were having so much fun they didn't need their phones.
That's right.
Well, guess what? We need to be distracted with the right things.
That's good.
This isn't an anti-phone podcast. This is an anti-diagnosing yourself and becoming your diagnosis podcast.
Yeah.
And hey, does Big Pharma play a big part of that? Yeah. Does cell phones play a big part of that? Yes. Does social media play a big part of that? But God is bigger than all of those things. He's bigger than all those things. And there's a lady she's been teacher of the year. She's now a teacher coach, and she was there last night. And I said, "Do you see what's happening here?" And she goes, "Yeah, they're building community. They're having a great time together. They're learning each other."
That's right.
Did some of them know each other already? Sure, but are they still building community? They are. Are they doing something? Look, those kids that were playing Jenga, they're using skills that they've never used before.
And they'll be talking about it all week till they come back.
And so I thought that was pretty cool. And like I said, the group that's playing spike ball, only one of them knows how to play spike ball.
Yeah.
They're learning.
That's right.
Watching them play badminton. I mean, these are football players playing badminton. It was hilarious.
Yep.
It was hilarious. But they were having a great time. And so, anyhow, I just want y'all to know that you don't have to just allow your kids to be on cell phones all the time and stuff. They do enjoy other things when you allow them to enjoy other things.
So I want to say a couple of things about that. One, a lot of times with the conversations when we're trying to reach the students, because it's a big thing that we do is try to reach students, people will say, hey, how can we get this to social media? How can we get it to social media? Because that's where the kids are. So the question first is, can we get it to them? And the answer is, yes, we can.
Yeah.
But a better question is, should we?
Yeah.
Should we be using these avenues to access the kids? And I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that there's a degree of it. I think there's a degree of it. You and I were talking about it right before camera.
Yeah.
I think that to that end, I think that was an extremely successful thing.
And I love it.
But I think that it can be shoved so far
Yes.
to where we're actually creating more of a problem by keeping them there. And so I love that the things that you're doing, like, hey, we could have interactive phone games on our screen. That could be what we do with the youth. We'll play Family Feud, and everybody get your phone out. But we're not doing that.
Yeah.
We don't want to lean in so far that way that we end up creating more of an issue that we're trying to combat against. And so, and I tell you guys that, and I'm going to tell you this, and I'm just going to open up about it. It's not a horrible thing, but you'll understand why I'm a bit conservative about it. But I will go ahead. So, for Christmas a year or two ago, one of my family members bought for my children these little cell phones, little smartphones. Now, they're not fully functioning, so they're basically little smartphones that have games on them.
Cool.
That's all it is. Now, we never let our kids have them. We never let them. I think they played with them for like 10 minutes, and I took them because I saw, I could say, I've been doing this for a while. I saw it and I was like, this is a problem. We've not let our kids have individual screens, personal screens for them to have. That's just a choice that we made as a family. I'm not trying to condemn you if you haven't. It's just our family's decision that we made. Now, those phones died before they ever even saw them again. They think we threw them in the trash, but I just put them on the top shelf in our pantry. They just never saw them, so they died. My 6-year-old asked one day. She saw it. I opened the pantry. She saw it. She says, "Is that my phone?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "Can I play with it?" I said, "It's dead." She says, "That's okay. I just like to play with it." Sure, why not? You know. So I handed her this dead phone. I watched this child. She was 5 when it happened, but it's still. I watched her treat that phone as if it were alive. As if it were fully powered. I watched it take over her mind. I watched it. It's dead. And she could not put it away.
Yeah.
She couldn't put it away. She couldn't put it down. She took it with her everywhere she went. If she went on the slide, if she went to the swing, if she went to play with the dog, she had this phone in her hand. She would not put it down. I took it. Took it away. So we're not going to condition ourselves this way. I'm not going to be a part of her conditioning herself this way at a time where she doesn't have to be exposed to this.
Yeah.
There's going to be a time in her life where she's responsible to answer phone calls. It's not now. It's not now. Yeah. And I don't want her mind being wired at 6 to carry this thing around. This is not what we want. I don't do it.
Right.
You called me the other day and I didn't answer, and then you sent me a mean text message because I didn't answer. Why? Because I just don't have my phone in my hand at all times.
Yep.
You know, I don't want my 6-year-old being conditioned that way. And I'm telling you, it will find its way in if you give it space to find its way in.
Well, anything will, and you know,
100%.
and you know, be able to do too much. It's just like, you know, we're talking about. We sent a video out. We had a young lady send an Instagram video out inviting people to church. It was a 30-second video, and it got 100 likes. Now, what we don't want to do, or 1,000 views. What we don't want to do is live stream the Wednesday night so that people don't have to come.
That's right.
So if we can use social media to get people there, then I think that's a good thing. But replacing the community interaction with social media is the bad thing. You know, I'm having to deal with this right now because, you know, we record our messages at church, and then we cut them down to the sermons and post them on YouTube. Because it's a good tool. If somebody missed church, they can get the sermon. If you can send it to your friend, you know, whatever you want to do, we'll go back and listen to it. But we could be live streaming right now.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
And we haven't.
Well.
And we have, I mean, we're just as capable of live streaming as we are of recording the service and posting the sermons later.
Yep.
And but it's just,
hey, the sermon's for later, so that way you can go back and listen to it, and hey, that's a good thing. But feeling like you were part of the service, so that way you don't have to go, that's what the live stream does. I had a guy that's been to our church one time in the pool house and one time in the new building. So since March, he's been there twice total. And he called me Saturday night. I didn't answer it because I was with my wife and my best friends. We were eating supper, and just chose not to answer it on a Saturday night at like 8 o'clock, you know. And then he left me a voicemail and says, hey, I don't know if I'm going to be able to go to church tomorrow because I'm so busy, but we really need to get it on Zoom.
Yeah.
You know, well, you know, he drives by the church all the time. This isn't very far for him. It's his community.
Yep.
He, you know, if he has a busy life, it's because he chose a busy life. But at the same time, it's like if you could be on there with Zoom, you could be on there with us. You know, and I do a Zoom that he was a part of, and that's the reason why he said Zoom. But, you know, it's just like as far as church goes, hey, the Zoom that I do on Thursdays at 3 o'clock is great because everybody's at different places. They just get on there together at 3 o'clock on Thursday for 15 minutes. That's great. But it doesn't need to replace church, you know. And so I think that let's tie this back into the diagnosis. If you have some issues and have some things to where you need some medication, this or that, hey, we're not against that. What we're against is that becoming your identity.
Yep.
You know, there's some things that I've dealt with health-wise that nobody knows. Why? Because I wasn't going to let it become part of my identity. Yeah. And because of that, it hasn't gotten bigger. It's gotten smaller. You know, doctor said, hey, it was going to get bigger. It didn't get bigger. It got smaller and non-existent. Why? Because we didn't allow that to become a part of us. It wasn't some major healing or anything like that. It was that we didn't make a mountain out of a molehill.
That's right.
That's all it was. I didn't have some life-threatening deal and God did a miracle. No, we had a issue that lots of people deal with, and we chose to not claim it, but to be able to handle it in other ways. And we didn't talk about it. We just fixed it in ways, and hey, it did never become all that.
That's right.
You know, but we see the opposite happen too much.
Yeah, and we saw the churches not recover after everybody switched to live streaming.
True.
I mean, we watched it. Yeah. Everybody saw it. It's a lot of people are still dealing with it. And but the other thing is, like, you got to stop. One, I'd say stop reading them. I'd say get them off your feeds if you're on social media. But two, definitely don't buy into them, because every other article, if you're constantly looking at these, your feed produces more of them. Every other article for some people is some version of self-diagnosis or diagnosing the problems that you have. I can tell you, if you spend any time with my wife and just ask her questions about me, it will not take long before you realize that I could very easily be diagnosed with some things. My mind and the way that I function as a human, like just the people that know me, would tell you I've got some things. I'm not worried about those things. Right. I don't let my life be dictated by those things. Are there some things I have natural draws to? Maybe so. I don't know. I don't even look at them. Right. I have been told by medical professionals that do diagnose these things that they believe that I have these things and would like to investigate it more. And I said, no, thank you. I'm okay. Yeah. I'm functioning just fine. And they're like, well, don't you think you could function better? So I'm not interested in functioning better. I'm interested in, I love my life. I enjoy it. Maybe there are some quirks I got to work through a little different than others. That's fine. I've no.
Yeah, do we want to function better by changing our diet a little bit?
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
By changing our workout a little bit? Sure.
Yeah.
But if we got to take your pill, you know.
Sure.
And something that Andrew knows that we just failed to mention, and I think it is important for people that don't know, is that with one of my license, I am able to diagnose certain things and choose not to.
Yeah.
Right, and choose not to. So I could be diagnosing people that I'm around a lot in certain areas of their life because I have a license that gives me the opportunity to do that. and we choose not to use that for that direction and for that. And a lot of that is because of what we're talking about
Yeah.
right now.
And earlier when I mentioned myself as an idiot, I was actually about to say that, and I was like, I just wasn't sure if you wanted me to share that or not.
Because we don't usually share that.
No, and so, but that's the deal. It's only one of us is an idiot. The other one is licensed. That was the whole. That was where I was going. It's like you can look at me if you think I'm an idiot, but only one of us is an idiot. The other one is licensed to do this,
Right.
And
choose not to.
Correct. And so now, I would kind of stem this whole conversation is an article that's been floating around lately, and I mentioned it to Clay the other day, but it was just like a paragraph long article. It was like basically if you are any of these things, and it listed it was 18 things on this list. And they were like, this is the beginning of a mental health crisis. And I can tell you that personally, and we went through the list together, I have 16 of those 18 things. 16 of those 18. And I am as happy of a person and as joy-filled of a person.
There was another guy in the room that said he was at 16 or 17 also. Yeah.
And and the reality is all of the things they listed are also the result of a person who just works really hard.
Yeah.
You're going to, if you just work really hard in your life from daylight until dusk, you're going to have 16 to 18
Do
of
you
those
get
symptoms.
tired in the afternoon?
That was one of the things.
Do you feel like you work harder than other people?
Is it difficult when you wake up in the morning? Yeah.
Do you have aches and pains in your body?
Yeah. It was like your body is screaming out for help. I was like, I'm not screaming out for nothing, man. I feel great.
Do you feel like you have too many things going on at times?
It's
like, come on, man.
But there's so many people who are reading this going, oh, this is me.
Yeah.
I'm in a mental health crisis. And then they start to fall apart on the inside because they've taken ownership of a societal diagnosis. And
the issue I have with it, and like I said, you just read it real quick in the office the other day, and I can't even remember all of them, but the issue I had is, it's like you said, they were more, the person that just works hard every day has more of those characteristics. And so the issue I have, because I am able to diagnose those things, is that the people that don't have those things on their list more likely are depressed than the people that do have those things on their list. Because the people that aren't working hard every day and don't feel like a sense of, that they need to accomplish something and all that, that's the people that have the depression issues.
And I was going to allude to something like that earlier because, and it's difficult because if my friends, and they are friends, and we do have love for each other, but we also strongly disagree in this matter. But I'm just going to say it because I'm not going to say their name, but I am just going to put this out there, and they're really not going to like this, but it's okay because someone out there needs to hear this. There are some good Christian people who I'm very close to that strongly disagree with me on this subject. And 90% of the things that they're pushing out there are on mental health awareness and self-help, self-diagnose, like all of these kind of things. And we really butt heads hard on these conversations. But here's what I can tell you from their own mouth is that they are not happy.
Yeah.
They're not happy.
I agree with that.
That's not my opinion of their life.
No,
That's
they're
their
not.
voicing to me that they are miserable.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's because you're leaning into these things too far.
Yeah.
It's because you're leaning into it. I'm not saying there's no validity to any of it.
Right.
That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying you have over-leaned in to this self-help culture. And now you can't be happy. I freaked out at a conference a few years back. I don't know if you remember. You probably will if I start to get into some details. But we went to a conference a few years back where I heard 3 or 4 pastors basically give a pity your pastor speech, and I lost my mind.
Yeah.
I was very mad, and it's like that's not who we are. We're not people that need pity. We shouldn't be people who need pity to function. And it's like, well, if you'll just pity me a little bit, I'll be able to get through it. I don't want that.
No.
I want people who are going to grab me and help me up to my feet. And I don't feel like walking. I talked the other day. Oh, I can't get into the specifics of that because it's something that just happened. I'll work around it. I was having a conversation the other day with somebody, and we were talking about a situation that could cause a pretty strong depression. It could cause a strong depression. And he was just saying, I'd like to be left alone. And my response was, I will try to isolate myself, but I will be thankful for the people who don't let me. I will try to isolate myself because I'm having a hard time, but I need people to come get me.
Yeah.
Even though I don't want it,
Yeah.
I need them to come get me. I need them to force me back up to my feet. Maybe not the same day, but I need them to force me back to my feet, force me to walk. And I may hate you for a minute, but I'm gonna be so thankful for you later. And that's what we need.
We got to have those kind of things in our lives. But if we just are consumed to the fact that this is the way we are, then we'll never even see those helping hands that are trying to help us.
That's right.
Because we think that they're trying to hurt us because, hey, we finally figured it out.
Yeah.
It may suck, and we're not going to be happy, but at least we figured it out.
That's right.
At least we have the answer. That's what we hear all the time. At least now we have an answer.
Yeah.
No, you got a answer, but you don't have the answer, and that's the problem.
Yeah.
You know.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, man. People are gonna hate this episode.
Yeah.
They're gonna think that we're all against, medicine and doctors and all that stuff. No, we're against you not being your best.
That's right.
And whatever that is that's doing that, that's what we're against. One of the main purposes of this podcast is to see you reach your full potential in Christ.
Yeah. And here's the question, and this will be my closing statement here. Here's the question you can ask, and this will clarify where my position for sure. I don't want to speak for Clay directly, but my position for sure. This will clarify. When you accepted whatever diagnosis, did you get better?
Yeah.
If you got better, I'm okay.
Yeah.
If you legitimately can say you got better, I'm okay with whatever it was. If you tell me you did not get better, but you became more aware of your issues, I'm not okay.
Yeah.
Because you did not get better. It is not helping you get better. It's just making you more aware of your faults, which is that was the same purpose of the law in the beginning, to make you more aware of your faults, but it could never make you right. It's the same thing.
No.
If all you're doing is being more aware of your faults, but not gonna be made right, then I'm not okay with where you are. And not because I don't love you, because I want to see you better.
So here's the way I'm going to end this episode on my side. I agree 100%.
Amen.
There you go. See y'all.